Me and Jake running down the street with a handful of comic books, kicking ass and banging chicks and drinking beers
No, not
and
me.
smoking
Not
weed.
me. I'm married.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
married.
Jake.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.
Welcome back to.
Oh, I think you have to blow somebody.
Oh, we're doing a show right now.
Oh.
Oh shit. Ignore everything that we said.
I'll look up later on the internet who we have to blow to get our liquor license.
Welcome to episode 18 of Off Panel, Off Topic.
18.
Number 18. That's also because there's been a few times when we've done these movie reviews, we've double dipped in a week. I don't know if we're gonna double dip this week because
I was gonna say
we're talking about Dune.
Yeah, I was gonna say if there's if months were made up of 9 weeks instead of 4, that's 2 months.
What the fuck was that, buddy? We started the show in July, and now we're almost to November. Can you believe that?
9 weeks. 2 months.
Wait, if you think about it, this is about as old as my baby.
Whoa. That's too deep.
We both.
Now we went from joking to like, oh my God. We have to treat this like a baby.
And I can say that on this podcast because we've already announced it, so everybody knows.
Girl.
Even though I'm pretty sure we probably mentioned it in different episodes.
Well, there was one episode before I thought you hadn't announced it, and you said something about it, and I remember calling you.
At that point, all the people we wanted to know knew.
Right, but I called you on my way home like, dude, before you post it, because I knew you posted it right away. Yeah. I was worried.
Any Hoosiers. Today, we are going, much like what we did with Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and all the other reviews we've done lately. This is the only thing we're talking about today. We're only going to be talking about...
No long box, no Jake Unlimited.
Yes, it's just going to be talking about Dune, and it's going to be, I think, a pretty interesting discussion, because we're coming into this movie with two very different perspectives, because I never... before this movie, I didn't know anything about Dune, and even while watching this movie, I didn't still know anything about Dune. I think my dog just farted.
Oh my God! Right in my fucking face.
You gotta be careful. He did that to me too.
Oh my God! He just fucking photobombed me.
Yeah, he's been having stomach issues.
That's what I'm gonna start calling it when people crop dust me. Dude, you photobombed me.
Yeah, I think Coop he's having a little stomach issues.
No, it's not your fault. I'm not mad at you, puppy. It's just, dear God.
Look, he's smiling. He ain't ashamed. He's looking like I fucking gotcha. Now you talk about your dude. Oh shit, the smell came over here. Oh my God.
Right? I think it's gone here now. Okay.
Oh man.
So
dog farts are the worst fucking farts. My
talk
God.
about silent but deadly.
That's the thing. You don't hear his.
SBD.
They're silent.
He's super happy about it too. He's like, fuck you guys.
They're quiet when they get here, but boy, do they arrive. Let me tell you. Anyway, Dune.
You might not notice them walk into the house, but you sure notice they're living there. How come I never noticed this basement full of...
Do you think sandworms smell bad? Because they're underground.
Here's one thing you got to remember about Dune. Before we get into the thing, don't forget, water is very precious. So none of them Fremen have ever showered. Ever.
So they definitely stink.
Oh boy!
You think they? Well, and
you're also drinking your recycled piss in the desert.
Also, that's what I'm saying is every part of your body that leaks water, which is all of your body, gets recycled in those slip suits, is what they call them.
Still suits.
Still suits.
But continue with your perspective. I didn't mean to.
No, well, I'm sorry. My dog shit on you.
Just let a fucking bomb. Okay.
Yeah. Are you done? Done farting? So yeah, we come in to do.
It's gonna be a running gag. Get it?
Hey,
go ahead.
We come in with totally different perspectives, and yeah, I had no cares about Dune as a property. None of it ever kind of stuck out to me. I never watched the David Lynch movie. I didn't watch the sci-fi miniseries, so I had really no expectations going in. I know that what sold me, and we talked about this. In the Venom trailer, when we're talking about being in the theater for the first time in a while and seeing trailers again, and Because before Venom, I'd only been in the theater one other time, and that was to see Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that second trailer for Dune, and I'm like, well, fuck, because it's just a trailer that captured you of like, this is like this big sweeping movie, and I haven't seen something like that in a while, because we have gotten so used to the superhero genre and stuff like that we forget about these like epics, like cinema
Star Wars
movies.
seems
Yeah.
like they're putting a movie out every
these giant
year.
these giant sci-fi space operas that we just don't get enough of anymore. And because they were done so badly in the first place. Now you have people doing the property that understand the property and know what to do with it.
Yes.
And so it was just that build of everybody talking about it. And again, it's not a property that I ever took investment in. And I think the only reason I saw this movie was because how much you talked about it. Because this is the thing about Dune. If you have a friend that doesn't like Dune, you wouldn't know, right? But if you have a friend that likes Dune, you fucking know about it, because you motherfuckers talk about Dune all the time.
Because it's fucking awesome.
No, but it's like The Wire and Dune. That's what you always bring up to me, and I'm like, I will fucking watch this movie.
I'm never gonna get you to see The Wire.
I will. You know what? It's gonna be one of those days. I'm gonna have the baby. It's gonna be I'm gonna be one of my days off, and I'm just gonna be sitting there with the baby and be like, fuck it. All right, I'll put on some. The baby's asleep. I'll watch this fucking show.
Yes.
I'm not.
Wait, you can actually do it with the soundboard. I don't even have to say yes anymore. Like
That's
Marvel.
true. That's true.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes.
Tyler, and of course, your son, as I just ousted you as a Dune person.
Out of the closet.
But you have a very close relationship with this, because you've read every book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even his son's books.
I haven't read all of his sons. There are he did a prequel series called and one was, I think, House Carino, House Atreides, and House Harkonnen, and it's basically like how Leto and the Baron grew up. And I'm like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. That's one of those things. There's like lore expanding things where it's like, I don't need to know.
Yeah, there's another.
I don't need to know more about Leto or Leto. Is it Leto?
I think
how do they say it in the
I think
movie?
it's pronounced Leto or Leto.
I think it's Leto.
Duke Leto.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But like, I don't need to know any more about Leto and the Baron. I got enough from what I saw of them.
Right.
Like, we don't need. That's the thing that it does.
I read House Atreides, but I couldn't get through it because it just didn't seem important enough for me to know.
And you know how it ends. That's
Yes.
the thing. You know what happens to Leto.
I don't want.
Leto.
Yeah, I mean, like when I think about it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Dune was written in the '60s by a guy named Frank Herbert. Should I give a? Okay.
Well, quick.
Okay.
I did not realize. Again, not knowing anything about Dune, I knew about the sandworms. That's
Okay.
about it.
Yeah.
But the movie Tremors
Yes.
owes so much to Dune.
Yeah.
Because it really is just Dune
Really tiny
in Arizona.
Really tiny sandworms.
And you know what? I fucking love the first Tremors. I love the second Tremors even. And I love those movies. But it's just funny because I'm watching it and I'm thinking like, wow,
Yeah.
Tremors just really steals a bunch from Dune.
Beetlejuice takes from Dune with the fucking.
Well, yeah, the more you get into Dune, the more you realize that a lot of pop culture came from Dune.
Yeah, exactly. It was written in the '60s, called Dune, and it melded religion, politics, palace intrigue, sci-fi.
It's actually a really cautionary tale about demagoguery.
Yes.
And if that is a word, I don't know if that's a word.
It married a bunch of different genres together to create basically. I can't really recommend the book Dune to anybody just for one simple reason. You have to want to read it.
It's 412 pages.
Yes, and it's dense. Like every chapter
the
starts
lore is
off,
extremely dense.
Every chapter starts off with a chapter. What?
Well, no, I was just going to add to that and
Yeah.
just say that that is another reason why I wasn't interested in this movie, is because while it's when you have like your situation where somebody's really enthusiastic about it and really excited about it, it did interest me. But what took me out of it was the fact that you have to commit to this, because there's Frank Herbert himself before he died.
Reading the books, I think.
With this movie,
But yeah,
yes. But what I'm
sorry.
saying is so fucking dense.
Yeah.
There's so much lore, and in the it's like And it's not in the same way as Star Wars, because Star Wars, it's dense, there's a lot of lore, but you got to search that out. The main movies don't have that issues, whereas with Dune, the whole idea is extreme expanding lore, and it's thousands of years in the future, and all this crazy shit.
Yeah, and before he died, I think you were going to say that he wrote like a couple of books about like the language of Dune and some other things. He wrote 6 books altogether about the Dune mythos. Now,
but were only like 4 of them the main narrative, and the other ones were like side stuff?
No, all six are the main narrative.
Okay.
But here's the thing: is from the time the first book takes place in the year 10,191, and the 6th book ends, I would say, in the year 15,000 something.
Wow.
And there's a huge time jump between Children of Dune and God Emperor of Dune. I won't get into all that. But what happened is they refer to this. You understand from watching the movie that there are no computers. We'll get into that later.
Their technology is very archaic. They rarely use guns. It's mostly swords.
But just kind of a little bit of background that won't spoil anything. There's a thing referred to in the books. I don't think they'll refer to it in the movies, called the Butlerian Jihad. And
they did not mention it in the movie.
No, and it's referred to in the books, and it is referred to why there are no quote-unquote thinking machines is what they're referred to as. So Frank Herbert dies. He writes 6 books. He leaves tons of notes for Dune 7, which would have completed the books, because 6 ends on a really fucking crazy cliffhanger. So, everybody's like, oh, well, he's dead now, so no, It's kind of like with, what's his name doing Game of Thrones. Like, everybody's like, finish the book before you die, But his son and Kevin J. Anderson wrote out Dune 7 as 2 other books, and so finished it. But they also wrote 3 other books set like 10,000 years before Dune, okay? And it revolves around why thinking machines are outlawed. It depicts the origins of the Mentat. It shows the origins of the Fremen. It shows the origins of the Sook School, which is Dr. Yu is a part of. It shows the origins of the Bene Gesserit. It shows the origins of everything that you see in Dune already done and part of this world. And it is really cool because characters from that trilogy come back in Dune 7. But I won't go any more than that.
Well, that's what I mean. Right there is a prime example of just how dense it is.
Already you've got 11 books to read. Already.
Yeah, and it's in this like, it's like in the caverns that they were talking about in the movie.
You don't
it's
need to read all 11 to watch the movie.
No, and I think what they should do going forward, I think they should obviously finish the second part of this movie,
which they will.
Because let's be honest, this is what they were going to do for Justice League. This is the Snyder Cut idea of I don't think they filmed the second part yet, but
no, they haven't. They haven't even done
Villeneuve.
I don't think.
Villeneuve, is that how you say it? Villeneuve.
It's Denis Villeneuve.
Villeneuve had a plan. Had it as 2 movies, and that was always the idea going in.
When they were in post production, from what I remember, Spates, John Spates,
he said it was.
But he was working on the second part already when they were in post production for this one. But they aren't even in pre production for the second part,
which is weird. I don't understand why Lionsgate hasn't announced part 2, because it killed it. I don't have the box office numbers in front of me. But it dominated the box office. Because, again, Dune fans were like, no, we're going to go see this in theater. We want a second.
Because we want the second part,
yes, we want another movie. And
there's a lot of us. You don't know us, but we're around.
No, you do, because you motherfuckers talk about it all the time. No, but no, and it's like what you were talking about before. It is that gaining fandom or appreciating something because you love it. So it's like with you loving it, then I had like, there's no choice. I have to watch this because he's gonna want a podcast about this.
Fuck yeah!
But even more so than that, it was like it did interest me of like this is I want to and I did intentionally not read anything before I watched it.
Yeah,
because I did want to have that perspective of I'm someone that's new. Does this movie appeal to someone who knows nothing? And I will say, the movie has its flaws just because there's no such thing as a perfect movie.
No.
but it's damn near close to a perfect movie for me. But I understand, and it's also a situation where I understand the criticisms because I am someone coming in. I'm coming in with no hype.
I've read bad reviews just to see what they say, and inevitably, just because I'm such a fan of the books, and just because my anticipation was met, it was met.
Yeah.
I basically respond to most of the. I don't read them all. I read halfway through and then I go fuck you and I look at something else.
Well, but it's
yes, they have valid criticisms. Of course they do.
Well, my biggest positive in my opinion, it's art. People are gonna view this differently, right? But in my opinion, I think that my best credit to the movie is it did a great job of holding my hand, but not making me feel stupid.
Yeah.
It explained...
The Lynch movie does, kind of.
It showed enough for me to figure it out. It showed enough to me to kind of develop... And yeah, I did... Okay, so I didn't come in completely blind because you had talked about Dune. So I had a little bit... But you and I have talked. It's been on a very base level because you knew everything that was going to be happening in this movie. And you're like, well, if you haven't read the book, I don't necessarily want to spoil this for you.
Well, I kind of knew that Dune was... I mean, by the time we started doing this podcast, obviously, the movie was finished for release last winter.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out last year.
Yeah, so...
Or 2020.
We've known about this for a while, and I knew that I didn't want to... It's so dense, man. If you want to sit down for 3 hours, I'll tell you the whole fucking story.
Yeah, you were like,
even
you. I never stopped you. You were always the one that was like, you know what, man, this is too much. You honestly were like, just go look it up.
Honestly, I don't recommend anybody do this because they are really good books, but if you want to, just go read the Wikipedia plot.
Or I'm sure you could find somebody having like the bootleg audiobook on YouTube. That's always the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just listen to the audio. That's something. Actually, I might do that. I might get the Dune books on audiobook and just listen to them on my.
Because there's a lot of stuff they skip over. They have to.
Yeah.
You can't.
Shout out to audiobooks.
Yeah.
You know what's so hilarious to me? Like scripted. People think like scripted podcasts and audiobooks are like this novel new thing. I was like, this shit's been around forever. Radio plays, audiobooks. What's old is new again. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Dune holds up so well all these years later because of that idea of it. That's what makes it so great. We were talking about with technology. Focusing on the human aspect of it makes it timeless.
It's almost a superhero movie.
It is.
Almost.
It is because he talks about superheroes in Frank Herbert. We'll get into that.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, because we knew this is kind of gonna go over the
place. We will be gushing.
But I know I wanted to have this conversation before we talked about the movie itself, because I do think that you and I are gonna have two different. You and I view this movie differently already, and we've talked about that. So if you have not read the books and you want to see the movie, do not listen. Real quick, spoiler-free thoughts. Like I said, I thought it was good to watch like an epic movie again. One and two, like I said, it does a great job of explaining what it needs to of the lore and not give me everything of the lore and all that. It gives me enough to make me interested to see a second one. And the acting is phenomenal in this movie. And so I would recommend it absolutely. Go see it if you can't. If you don't look, I would recommend.
We haven't even talked about the music.
Exactly.
Dude.
I would recommend seeing it on the biggest screen possible, but if you can't, definitely check it out on HBO Max.
I watched it twice on HBO Max and I'm satisfied.
I did want to see it in the theater, but just because of, we're adults and, I got busy and, I had my buddy. Yeah. My buddy was getting married this past weekend.
And I wasn't going to wait until he got back. I mean, I've been waiting for this for a year and God knows how long before that.
Yeah, and I was too fucking hungover on Sunday to go see the movie. So I had to just watch it on HBO Max as well.
My brother is somebody who's like, you have to see this on the big screen. I've never been one of those people. Honestly... If I can watch it, and it's it's not edited for television or whatever, I will watch it.
I will say I do think it's a bit of a travesty that this movie is a hybrid release because I think a lot. But I do think, like we were talking about, the Dune fans, they understood the situation. They showed out in droves to go see it.
And I apologize to any Dune fans who call me a traitor for not going to see it in the movie theater.
Dude, fucking sue me. I think it's probably better that I watch this on HBO Max because I would have had. There were so many distractions in my life where I had to keep pausing the fucking movie because my dog was throwing up or whatever was happening. I also fell asleep at some point, so I had to wake up at like my dog woke me up at like 3:30, and I watched. And I was like, "Fuck! I missed like 45 minutes of this movie." So
It's not an indictment of the movie. That's an indictment of Jake's work schedule.
That is definitely an indictment of me starting a 2.5-hour movie
At like 12.
at like 10:30 at night, almost 11.
See, I thought I was going to have to watch it at 11 o'clock, like I was telling you earlier. I somehow got taken off Thursdays on my other job. Then I got back on, and of course, it's Thursday night, the night that Dune comes out on HBO Max, that I have to work again. And I'm like, God damn it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm here. I don't give a shit. I got nothing to do tomorrow. I'm going to watch the fucking movie when I get home. I don't care.
Well, and I did the same thing with the Suicide Squad. I got to a certain point where I'm like, ooh, I'm getting out. I got all my work done. I'm getting off early. Oh, it dropped at 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to fucking get home and watch this movie.
Right. Yeah, dude. I went by QT on my way home. I got a cup full of ice. And then a 2-liter of cherry Coke, because I always have cherry Coke in the theater. And then I bought a bag of that
like microwave popcorn.
No, I bought a bag of that shitty movie theater popcorn.
I would have just microwaved some popcorn.
And then, but I had bought at work. I had gotten a big ass fucking pretzel burger with a salad, dude.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. So I did it up as good as I could in the theater.
I made a bag of popcorn, but again, I was also watching it like fucking. Yeah, I fell asleep. I got so far though. I got really far because I was interested, but then I was like, oh shit. I got the heavy eyes, and then I fall asleep. Dog wakes me up, puking, and I'm like, fuck. And then I was like, you know what? Because I really wanted to record this episode as soon as possible. So I was like, I'll fucking, and I soldiered through, and I finished it, and then I went back to sleep. So we're all good.
I congratulate you. That's called commitment to
the craft. So what are your spoiler-free opinions on the film? Quick, like
yeah, totally. As a person who read the book,
because I want to talk about spoilers.
Of course. As a person who read the book, I enjoyed it. I felt like I kind of enjoyed the David Lynch book or movie. That introduced me to Dune. Then I read the book. So I didn't mind the sci-fi series because it was, even though it was low budget, it was still pretty good acted, written. It's still on the screen. It's kind of like Daredevil, that shitty Ben Affleck movie. It's still kind of good because it's Daredevil. It's on the screen. It's live action. That's kind of cool.
And then the Netflix show happened. You're like, oh wow.
Well, and then Green Lantern even.
It's the same thing where it's like,
if you love the property enough or whatever, even if the movie is shitty, you're like, oh, that's still cool.
You can find things to enjoy.
This movie is not shitty. This is a high quality. I described it as
Kobe beef.
The Lynch movie is like a fucking steak at a truck stop.
Yeah,
$1.99.
Yeah,
full of gristle and bone. The fucking movie that Denis Villeneuve made. He knew as a fan of the book what we wanted. J.J. Abrams, who I've maligned many times on this show, says he's a Star Wars fan. But after seeing that sequel trilogy, I don't believe you, JJ. I think you are a fucking piece of crap and you're a liar. I know Denis Villeneuve is a fan of the Dune books. Why? Because I saw the movie he made as a fan and it fucking ruled. Take that, JJ. Why do I gotta give JJ such shit?
I'll eat your ass.
I will. I will. He's got $1 million.
What?
So yeah, go see it. Spoilers.
Really good.
3, 2, 1. Spoilers.
Yeah! I couldn't think of anything. I was taking a drink.
Oh shit! I hit the wrong button.
God damn it. Yes. Yes. So
let's talk about Dune.
Let's talk about it. So tell me,
you know how much this movie cost?
$1 million, bitch.
Fucking Warner Brothers wishes.
Yeah, I wish they got it that cheap.
So
that's the problem. It's hard to adapt something like this.
I want to try something, and I know we didn't talk about this off the air, but I want to try something here.
Improv.
No, I kind of want to interview you as somebody who loves the books and everything, and kind of.
Well, we talk about the movie, kind of.
Yeah. Okay. So. Okay.
I can.
So
yes, I'm in.
So. What? You gotta do it for me.
All right, fine. What? That's like our transition button. Like that's what we just use to switch topics.
I think this will be fun. So
this isn't a glee club.
Let's get into it.
So do you know Dave Dastmalchian's character is Piter DeVries?
Wait.
The guy who played the Spot or whatever in Suicide Squad, and what's his name in Ant-Man?
Oh yeah. That
Dave
guy.
Dastmalchian.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, okay, he played that character.
Yeah.
And you know, I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who played Thufir Hawat, the head of security for Atreides. He was the short guy with the stain on his lip.
Yeah.
He was the security guy. I don't give a damn about Your Honor.
Yeah.
Find me some spies. That guy.
Oh yeah. The guy that like rolled his eyes back and like did the numbers thing and had the thing next to his ear.
Do you
he's
realize
he's the there's a title for him.
Yes, but it's not mentioned in the movie, so I wanted to kind of
It's mentioned.
It's called a mentat.
Yes.
They're human computers. Did you notice when Dr. Yue was doing his examinations, he did it all with fingers?
Yeah.
That's because they don't have any instruments. They don't have any EKGs and shit like that. Those are thinking machines.
Okay.
Even those. Even a fucking toaster they don't have. That's how bad the fucking thinking machines treated the humans. They enslaved Earth. Earth at this time is a smoldering hunk of nuclear shit. Because the human race from far away came back after freeing themselves from the thinking machines that had taken over the human race and nuked the fuck out of them.
As you do.
That's a lot of backstory. Again, part of the Butlerian Jihad. But I wanted to that's called the Suk Doctor. He's a Suk Doctor, the Suk school of doctoring. And they don't talk about it in the movie, but that diamond on his forehead is a sign of, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a sign of imperial conditioning, which means that he cannot be turned traitor. So no matter what, if you have you have a Suk Doctor in your house, you know that he's going to be loyal to your house. Yes. But did you know that Peter de Vries and Thufir are both of the same type of character? They're both mentats.
Yeah, they're like for the way I understood it is like they're the hand of the king. It's like what they would say in Game of Thrones. Like they're serving the king.
They're basically human computers. Like instead of having even calculators, they don't have.
Yeah.
So they have humans doing that shit. And the Bene Gesserit, obviously you know Jessica is a member of the Bene Gesserit. Now they are so advanced.
They're like these super powered witches that have like,
and nobody knows how powerful they are. In the books, they actually get into how powerful
and they have
are.
like they do like Jedi mind trick type shit.
What did you think of the voice?
That was creepy,
right?
I like the voice idea. Yeah.
Okay, so they really fucked that up in the Dune movie, the Lynch movie, of course. Of course they did.
The 84 movie.
I loved how they did it when it was right at the beginning of the movie almost.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm just waiting. I'm on pins and fucking needles to see how they do this, right? I'm just like, this is a big deal for me. So far, what I've seen is good.
Yeah.
I've seen 5 minutes of exposition from Zendaya, and then a title card, and then, damn, Timothée Chalamet is a good-looking human being, man. And then they're having breakfast, right? So I've seen some good stuff, but this is the moment. This is the moment, Denis.
I saw somebody tweet, to be fair, I have dreams about Zendaya too. Somebody tweeted.
This is the moment, Denis. How are you going to prove to me right now that this is a movie that I am going to stick with? Because so far you've shown me good stuff, but how are you going to do the voice? And I'm on fucking pins and needles. And when he closes his eyes and he thinks about it, and then he speaks and no sound comes out, and then that fucking, oh yeah, dude, I'm like, I'm fucking in, Denis. I'm in. You did that right. I think you're going to do everything else right. And sure enough, to me, every single beat of the fucking movie, every single beat of the story that needs to be told to a movie-going audience that doesn't know anything about the books was told.
Yes.
There's a lot of backstory and shit they had to skip over,
dude.
but they did a way better job.
I never, and that is a credit to the movie.
Yeah.
I never felt.
I'm sorry I'm freaking out, but I'm still so excited about this movie.
Well, what I was worried about, and I already stated it, but yeah, what I was worried about is I was going to get lost in this thing, being like, what is this? What is this? This is again. It hits the right plot points. It tells me enough in its... And you know what he's great at, Villeneuve, is because look, I fucking loved Blade Runner 2049. That's another reason why I wanted to see it. It's like, okay, I liked what he did with Blade Runner. I'll check this out. But what he's able to do, he is such a visual director that so much of the story is conveyed through body language, and so much of the story is more organic.
What did you think about the war language, the Atreides war language? The thing they do with their hands?
Yeah.
That's a secret way of talking. How fucking cool
Yeah,
is that?
the signing. Yeah, that was really dope.
Right?
Yeah, especially because when she did it to get him to use his voice.
Or when she meets the maid, prepare for violence.
So I want to kind of hit some points that I wanted to
let's
talk
go.
about.
Let's go.
That I thought were interesting. And again, another great example of what you don't see in movies anymore. They don't explain to me the shield system, but I figured it out because
I loved how they
when
did
you
that.
hit someone, it's blue, and then when you hit someone, it could be a fatal.
It was
It's-
such
well,
a simple way of doing it.
Dude, it's a video game. Again, this is taking something from this and putting it in something else. I've been playing video games for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it means when you hit something and it turns red. That means it's a hit. That means, okay, they're injured.
Mm-hmm.
They've been hit by the blade. Like that
And
was
made the fight scene so much
but
more
that was a great
interesting.
example of the movie doing like you not telling me I'm stupid and saying you can figure this out.
He taps it twice, it's blue, and then he slowly
And when
plots
he
in his
whenever he
hand,
gets
and
hit,
goes
it turns red. You figure it out. And so that's something that was in the books, like that.
I love
was
that.
that described in the books like that? Like that was the
No,
shield.
they probably go into more exposition about it and everything, but in fact, in that scene, Thufir Hawat and Dr. Yui are both in that scene as well in the book. It's not just Gurney Halleck, but
I loved
Patrick Stewart played Gurney Halleck in the David Lynch movie, by the way.
Really
Yes, and he's just as awesome as you would think.
Gurney.
Fighting is mood. Mood is for lovemaking and for cattle. Fighting. It's great. It's fucking great.
Love making in cattle.
Dude, he's so great.
But well, no, and that's the okay. So
Brolin brought his fucking.
that's what I want to say. I think it was a great idea to open the movie with, because I mean it's about Paul.
Yes.
And he's the main character, but it's nice. I like that they introduced the story through the Atreides and did it in a way where, like, it's so perfect that the first two lines that you hear Oscar Isaac and Josh Brolin say to one another is, "Smile, Gurney. I am smiling." Like, that's such a cool little sequence. Because that already establishes who they are. And you understand that Josh Brolin is loyal to Oscar Isaac's character, to Leto. Gurney's
Leto,
whatever.
Let's just say Leto.
I'm going to say Leto because Jared Leto is what I think of. That's how I remember it.
Leto.
No, but yeah, dude, the performances are so great. And just that exchange there was enough to make me interested in their relationship. And Oscar Isaac does an amazing job as Leto because I was behind him. I loved how he was as a leader, where every time there's opportunity to have the guard up to defend him, like fight them off, he's like, no, calm down. Like, he was very, and that's the political aspect of the story. Like, he was teaching his son, like, the best part to get me on board and make me care about his relationship with Paul was the sequence when he said, when Paul is doubting himself and saying, like, I don't think I'm not going to be the fucking, I can't leave this house. And he goes,
I need you to be. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because that, again, this is just where I'm at, of like that was, I've had that conversation with my dad, and I've had that moment with my dad, and you really understand that Leto loves Paul. Like, he cares about his son when he says, you were all you ever needed to be, my son. And I'm like, fuck, that hit me in the heart. I was like, damn, because you got to see him be a good dad. You got to see him be a loving parent. And so later in the movie, when he gets fucking murdered, I'm like, shit, that was a gut punch.
He gets fucking literally stabbed in the back.
You and I need to talk about this because this is an example of us having two different experiences.
Yes, we talked about this off air, but this is a good example.
So you got the Atreides, you got the Harkonnen, you've got the Fremen. Those are kind of like the main factions in this movie, in this part of the story. Yes.
Well, at this point, you also have the Sardaukar.
The Sardaukar, yes.
What did you think of the throat singing priest?
Oh yeah, and they're putting the blood on the armor. So
what
cool.
The fuck?
Well, and that's the thing that this movie nails is with the sound, with that score is so fucking good that it establishes all I need to know, like that these are extremists, like these are fucking crazy motherfuckers.
Oh.
Which, put that on a t-shirt, dude.
It's
fucking crazy motherfuckers.
It's constantly raining, and you just hear this throat singing in the background. And these, fucking Christ, man, wow.
Dude.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, there's no wonder there's bands that are based. Like I looked this up. There's like a bunch of different bands that take from Dune, like
I'm sure
names.
they do.
And I'm like, I get it.
The
Dude, I could write a whole fucking album
The
about it.
Sardaukar in the Lynch movie looked like they were wearing garbage bags with fucking face shields, dude. And so, yeah, there was... See, as we go through this movie and talk about it, I want to make sure that I remind you, or that I tell you, about all the things the Lynch movie did wrong that the Villeneuve movie did right. The way they did the Sardaukar was fucking perfect. Their arms are always out ready to fucking fight. They're badass fighters. That's what their lives are. They are raised from birth to fight.
Yeah.
And they are the Emperor's right hand and everything. And that's one of the things that they did wrong, so wrong in the Lynch movie, was the Sardaukar. It was so stupid looking. It was like, what?
But and
these
they did a great
costumings?
job of making them intimidating. They did a great job of, the Harkonnen.
Scary as fuck, too.
What is up with that fucking spider thing?
It's I believe it's I'm trying to remember if it's something from the Dune book or if it's something that I missed, but I believe it is a slig, which is a combination of a slug and a pig, and it is considered a delicacy in the Dune universe.
Ew.
It's the main source of animal protein.
Ugh. That's gross.
Yeah. I think so. I don't know though. I can't because if I remember correctly, there is something that the Baron does something to somebody, and like how Yui was talking about take her apart like a doll. I want to say that that's a human that's been like really fucked with.
Yeah, but
I can't remember what it could be. So I think it's their representation of a slig, which shows up a lot.
Okay.
They're like eight-legged pigs.
So yeah, you have the Harkonnen that you clearly are like, well, those are the bad guys, because Zendaya starts the movie, and I think it's even before the stuff with the House Atreides stuff. I think it was a smart idea to have her narrate the beginning, because it does add into that, and the music doesn't really have a cue, but when she is revealed in the movie, it does feel like a big moment, but it doesn't feel like it's played up to be.
No.
Because it should be, because it's like, this is the girl that's been in his visions this whole time, and she's finally real. So it's showing to him that his visions are real.
Right, but I liked that they made her matter of fact when they finally introduced her to the story.
No, but I like how they did her character.
Yeah. So one of the things that the Lynch movie did really, really wrong was they started the movie with Princess Irulan speaking into the camera and telling you everything about Dune. And then at the end of the speech, she goes, "Oh, I forgot to tell you. There's only one planet that has this. Arrakis, also known as Dune." And then the title cards. And it's like, you want to talk about holding my hand? Oh, I forgot to tell you. And here's the thing. Virginia Madsen is a fucking stone cold fox. She is a babe in many ways. Many, many ways. And a good actress. But I still don't like it when she goes, "I forgot to tell you." Shut up. You're not hot enough to condescend to me.
Yeah, so we already have, they have Dave Bautista, and you're like, okay, so the Harkonnen are badass.
Dude, he was really good. When he just shouts in the middle of a sentence, like, I know that's like not, I know there's a lot of, big badass dudes who could do that, but Bautista's got his own way.
Well, the way he did it was pretty, well, because it kind of took me aback. I was like, what? Jesus, man, you went to 0 to 60 so quick.
Right. Did you see at the end when he was telling him to squeeze and like,
he started to get excited about it?
Here's the thing that I liked about a lot of the
acting. I get to be a dictator?
Was the subtleties.
Yeah.
Like, you can sort of see him smile. At the very end of the movie, they show Paul. He's got kind of a little smile on his face. He walks along. They show Jessica, and if you notice, she is at first happy because she was just looking at Paul, but then she gets this deadly serious, this is not good face.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm doing this to you.
Why are you flashing the L at me?
I'm just really fucking excited about this fucking movie.
The sequence that we were referring to, that we had you and I had two completely experiences. Because by the way, I didn't tell this in the podcast, but I told you off the air. I think this movie did a great job of keeping me intrigued, because where it ended, because I had known it was like halfway through the first book, and I was like, okay. but it ends on such a cliffhanger. I'm like, So then I proceeded to look up the book, and I read more about the first book, and there's a big moment that happens about an hour into the movie, and it's like, oh gosh, this is to me. I was like, this is such a big thing, and then I looked at the plot synopsis of the book, and I was like, well, fuck, this is like super early on in the book.
Yeah.
So as I'm watching it, I was thinking of you, because I was like, after that scene happens and it kind of slows down the pace a little bit, I started to think about, okay, Tyler's gonna have a different aspect on this. So Atreides arrives in Arrakis by the Emperor, because they're the ones who are going to start they're like, hey, we need you to go.
How about the Harkonnen agent cemented into the wall?
That was wild.
What the fuck?
Well, and that's another great thing. A hunter-seeker. I don't know what the fuck that is, but you know what? I figured out what it was when he caught it and killed it, and he's like, it's a hunter-seeker. I was like, oh, it's a spy. Like, I was able enough to
There's
figure...
ways to do exposition in movies that don't suck.
Villeneuve is, as I said, he's a visual director. So what he's really good at is showing and not telling. And if you can't figure it out, I'm sorry. He's moving on. And
if you haven't seen Arrival, don't go see this. I mean,
I hate this. I hate Dune so much already, because there's so much I want to talk about, and I know I keep getting off track. Okay. But so
the scene. Let's get
the scene.
We'll get to it.
We find out, the Harkonnen don't like the Atreides. They've always had a rivalry. We see the Baron, who's like this 11-foot tall dude who...
He's just really fat, but he's got a suspensor belt.
Oh, I thought
when he raises up like that, that's just his clothes.
Okay.
Because
I didn't know if he like...
He's maybe 6'2", but
and you know
he's
what?
just really fat.
And you know what? That's another great example of how well written the book is and how good the script is. It didn't matter to me whether I knew that or not. I just figured... Okay. I'd already bought into the world at that point. So this dude really was like a 12 feet tall. I'd be like, okay, I guess that's a race of people in this.
So real quick, we will get to the scene, I promise. But in the books, it is referred to. The Baron is described as omnisexual, if you will, or what is it called? Pansexual.
Asexual, isn't it?
No, pansexual. Pan, where you fuck anything.
Yeah.
I know that's an awful way to describe it, but he's also brutal. He prefers. It's not about sex for him; it's about power. So he basically, every person he's with is not because they're consent. Okay.
So he likes to rape people.
Yes. So.
Oh God, he really is a horrible character.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But because he's just scum. But the Bene Gesserit need him for their breeding program.
Okay.
So
yeah, because they're breeding, and they mention in the movie that
they know
it's only women.
They know he's gay. They make a proposition to him. This is like in one of those House Harkonnen books or House Atreides books.
His son wrote.
Yeah, it's part of the notes that he left, but still. So he allows the Bene Gesserit sister to come, and then he basically like paralyzes her and just beats the shit out of her. And then so what happens is they get their revenge on him by paralyzing him. They get the sperm that they need, and then they give him like this fucking horrible STD that he's suffering from, which has just bloated his body and stuff. So they got their revenge on him. But that's why he's like disgusting. And that was Frank Herbert had that stuff in there too, but yeah, it's just really awful. He is an awful character. I mean, that's the point.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I mean, if you're gonna make a villain, might as well fucking go bigger.
When Brolin says they're not human, they're brutal, he means it.
Yeah.
In the book, it is very clearly described that the Harkonnens have no sanctity for human life any life whatsoever. They have no compunctions about killing or assaulting or beating.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that whole thing was nonchalant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to.
At this point, Atreides is kind of knows that okay, the Emperor sent us here to die because he realized when they're trying to excavate a ship from a spice extraction. The things to pull it up from the sandworm, because sandworms are attracted to the rhythms. When they pull it up, the cable breaks, and he's like, "You saw what I saw. That was clearly a shitty thing. Like, you know what? Like, if I don't fucking get this taken care of, you know what's gonna happen to me, kind of thing." Now, of course, not that language, but much more elegant. But And that's kind of where you start to get the gears turning of like, okay, the Emperor, he sent them to die in Arrakis. Because Leto is obsessed with bringing peace to Arrakis. That's his main mission. And then Paul picks it up.
He knows that he has to have a certain level of spice production or everyone will turn against him. Not just the Emperor, but all the houses of the Lion's Rod.
Yeah.
Because everybody needs it.
Yeah.
So if he fucks that up, then he's
and they
dead.
mentioned in the movie spice is the most valuable resource because it makes it able to travel interspace travel.
Yeah.
And it also is they don't touch on this in the movie, which they will in part 2. It's they do talk about it in the movie. It's a drug that makes you trip balls. Yeah, basically. Pretty much. It's like taking magic shrooms, which is what Herbert was doing while writing this book, because that's where he got the idea for the spice.
Yeah.
And yeah, so everybody wants it. It's the most valuable thing, and people will kill each other for it.
When you think about how badly the Harkonnens treated Arrakis to get that level of spice production for 80 years, she says it.
Yeah.
Then you know that no matter what happens, even if you've never read the books, you know Leto's destined to fail. There's no way that he can rule that planet with his type of rule and make friends of the Fremen, because that takes time, and nobody's going to give him that time.
Yeah.
Now, in the books, Liet Kynes is referred to as Dr. Kynes among the Atreides and everything, and there are whispers of somebody named Liet that is important to the Fremen.
Well, she's the judge of
Judge of the Change.
Judge of the Change, yes.
Right.
That was.
But she's also an imperial planetologist. She's been living on Arrakis for decades, trying to terraform Arrakis.
And she identifies as a Fremen because this is.
They don't touch on it in the movie too much.
She does, but her last sequence, she's like, I come from the desert. This is my home.
But because the book again is so dense and there's so much shit,
you can only tell so much in a movie.
Right, but I'm just letting you know, like.
And by the way, I never finished that thought. I do think that they should finish part 2 as a movie. But I think like if you're gonna do Children of Dune and God Emperor of Dune, you might be better off doing it as like a limited run HBO Max series, doing like 6 or 7 episodes.
I just watched Cloud Atlas yesterday, and I was telling you it's good. It would have been so much better as like a 6-part series, like on HBO Max.
Which, by the way, speaking of HBO Max, there was an ad for Raised by Wolves, and I need to watch that because I do want to watch that. Ridley Scott's sci-fi show.
I started watching it. It was fucking weird, man.
Well, I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, of course they would put this in front of Dune because they're very... Clearly, Dune had some sort of inspiration on that show. But so yeah, we're at this part where we're kind of like, okay, well, the Atreides are fucked, and there's a sequence where a bunch of his guard, like the Knight's Guard, pretty much, are killed off in the shadows, and he goes and he's trying to find a woman. Right? He sees a person that's injured.
Yeah. No, he wakes up because he
wakes up and then he goes outside and he's investigating and all of his guards, and they're all dead.
Shoutout has a little bit more of a role, a little bigger of a role in the book, but they did her. I think they did her justice.
Anyway, he finds her, and then he gets shot in the back by something, and
by paralyzing dart,
and he falls down. And then at that same time, we saw the Sardaukar show up with the Harkonnen, and they sack the city pretty much.
Yeah, they basically blow the fucking place up.
And then, but in that time, Dr. Yua, he's like, hey, they have my wife. I had to do this. I'm sorry, but here's the thing. I know you have a fake tooth. Put this in your mouth.
I think it's Yua, Dr. Yua.
Yeah, but he's like, put this in your mouth, bite down. It'll release a gas.
In the Lynch movie, they actually show him taking the tooth out.
Oh, well,
which is just unnecessary.
But he's like, yeah, if you play your cards right, if you do the right thing, you can kill the Baron too. Which I was like, I mean, I guess that kind of redeems you a little bit. But this whole time I'm watching, I'm like, oh fuck! Like I was so shocked by it. Whereas you, on the other hand, you're probably like, okay, this is how they're doing it, right? Like, what was your reaction to it?
No part of this movie.
Nothing shocked you, because
because I know far beyond this movie what happens and all that stuff. So this is kind of like old hat to me. But yeah, it was a lot like that for me, but it wasn't like. But I need to describe, like, I was a ball of like nervous energy the entire 2.5 hours, because the whole time I'm not waiting for a misstep. I'm just every moment that brings me more like, oh my God, this is exactly the way, this is the way I thought about
Yeah.
it. They did this so good. Every time that happens, I'm like, well, the next scene is how they going to, I was kind of thinking that, but I'm also incredibly I enjoyed the shit out of it just because it was so good and told the story that I love in such a way that other people are going to love it too. Stop there.
Yeah, and I want to talk about how many characters are introduced in this because there are a lot. But my favorite is a guy who I didn't even know was in this until a few days before I saw it was Javier Bardem, and I didn't know that he was in this movie.
Yeah,
I don't remember what was his name again. Stilgar. He was probably other than Duncan Idaho, because Duncan Idaho has a fantastic name.
Right.
He was one of my favorite kind of side characters, just in the little bit that I saw of him, and that was before. And again, I didn't even know he showed up at the end of the movie. But just a little bit that I saw of him was great. Just his introduction is so great because he literally just walks in and has no
First, he won't give up his knife.
He won't give up his knife. It's sacred, and Duncan Idaho's like, he's cool. Like, he's fine.
Yeah.
And what I love about that is the fact that he just doesn't give a fuck of who Leto Atreides is. He just shows up and is like, first off, he spits, which is funny because, yeah, you immediately be like, okay, that's kind of weird. But then Duncan is like, yeah, thanks for giving us your sacred water, which in that planet makes sense because water is such a commodity there.
That's an honorable. That I honor.
That
you
is. It's like a handshake.
Yes.
It's like I'm showing you respect, and that's another reason why I love Leto's character, because Leto understands their customs and spits back to show respect.
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, he probably suspects what's going on, but he's telling his guards, like, just give him a second and then don't do anything. And then Duncan Idaho explains it, and Leto just kind of follows along, but he knew something was up. Oh. I was thinking my mic started weird. Does it sound now?
You kept playing with the cable.
Okay. But
yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
And
how about when he says, I recognize you to Paul?
Yeah.
That was fucking creepy.
Well, but it just shows you that Leto's a good leader. Leto's a good politician because he understands the situation and shows respect back. And Stilgar also says, I show people, I give people respect if they give me respect. He's a very honorable guy. But
Fremen don't fuck around.
Fremen are, and they can't because they've been brutalized by fucking Harkonnen for 80 years.
Well, when you think about they live in an environment where one misstep can kill you.
They're surrounded by these gigantic sandworms. It's in this harsh brutal desert. And then everybody wants these really cool drugs you got.
Yeah, basically.
It's really what it is.
It's like a bunch of people living on
they all want to get all this
living inside of like the biggest poppy field on Earth.
I saw a tweet that said explain Dune horribly, and someone was like, a bunch of horny men can't get along to live on a planet made of cocaine. And it's true.
A planet made of cocaine.
It is a fucking planet made of cocaine.
Well, it's more of a hallucinogenic, so.
I know, but the whole idea, yeah, that it's just like they have to be harsh.
I know some of my friends back in the day would be like, "Oh, I hallucinated
some
shit on coke."
You're right. If it's not the fucking Harkonnen, it's somebody else trying to get spice, and it's always like, "Hey, man, we're also dealing with these giant fucking sandworms, these horrible desert conditions where we have to drink our own piss to survive." Yeah. Also, that's another thing that I loved about this movie is they did exposition cleverly. Like the still suit explanation, good. I get the importance of them. I get why everybody wears them. I understand it. And there's it's like with the theme of Dune, it's a cool way of blending science and religion and blending in the science aspect to the narrative being like, because it never takes a side on who's right. If you notice that.
Max von Sydow played Liet Kynes in the Lynch movie. And when the whole thing happens, he literally has the internal exposition. He would know your ways as if born to them. But I like how they did it in this, where she says it in Chekhovsa.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he farted again.
Well, I'm getting tired of you farting and not shitting when I take you outside, so you can whine all you want, Coop. I'm done with you. They heard it on the air. We're broken up. We're done. He has no idea what I'm saying.
It's like the Beebs.
It's they're like, I loved his character. I love how they did the Fremen and in a way that, like, okay, yeah, these are rugged people, but they're good people that live on the land. That's really all they are. And they're just really tired of everybody fucking with their homeland.
Oh yeah.
Because they're like, why get why everybody wants to be on Arrakis? They get this whole spice thing. They're like, can you guys just fuck off?
Yeah, and that's what Leto's trying to say. And then again, like I said earlier in the podcast, like you kind of know that Leto's destined to fail.
Because the Fremen don't want him there.
No.
The Harkonnen don't want him there.
They might eventually accept him, but he never has that
The
time.
Emperor wants him to fail. The Emperor wants to take down his house.
Yeah,
so,
it's
I mean,
shown pretty clearly from the beginning, like, you know what?
Well, and I love that sequence when the sacking of their stronghold is happening and Duncan is escaping. And then he sees Liette, and he goes, "We were sent here to die." And she knew. She knew. They all knew.
I told you off the air.
Deep down, I think Leto knew too.
The second I was in the books, he does.
He knows he's destined to fail.
Yeah, but he does it. But because of his political, and
he wants to bring peace to.
Well, he made a commitment as a politician, and
it's also his plan to.
He knows
bring peace to Arrakis.
Well, he knows he can't go against the Emperor, so he figures, you know what? He thinks, I'll survive this trap. Everybody else knows he's gonna die, including him a little bit. But, yeah, it's a really good just
there's so many things, but I just.
Yeah, he's not going to get the job.
But I understand, and again, I mentioned it earlier, I can understand the criticisms of some people that, like me, had not seen this or read this book or anything to it. Because there are some sequences of things where I'm like, okay. Like, there are, I mean, it can be disorienting at some times, but that's just because it's so dense.
Yeah, well, one criticism that I read that I actually agree with is that when Yue finally does betray the house, it doesn't have the emotional heft that it does in the book. Because in the book, you can
spend more time with.
Well, in the book way before it happens that Yue's the traitor. Again, in the books, every chapter starts with an excerpt from a book or another.
It's from Prince, or isn't it always from Princess?
There's tons of books. There's the Orange Catholic Bible, the Bene Gesserit. I mean, there's tons of like history books that are quoted before every chapter.
There's always an epitaph before.
So he's already got this planned out like way in advance, So it's like, holy shit. But I still think it packs a pretty big punch in the movie. I do, but I
can see what you're saying.
They
how
don't
like
talk about the Sook conditioning in the movie, so it's not really clear why it's so bad that he betrayed them.
But I could see that too as being like, this is going to happen,
right?
And you want Leto to stop because he's going to die. Whereas this, I had no idea. And then again, is the difference of you and I experiencing this, where I was like, "Holy shit, what is this?" But you're like, "Okay, now we're at this point where you're not as nearly. I mean, you're affected by it because Oscar Isaac does a great job and Leto is a really good character.
It's still really sad. I'm just saying, like,
you know what? I should have seen it coming. Because that's always what happens.
Every other character is talking about how he's going to die.
Well, not even that. It's whenever you have these epic stories, whether it be sci-fi or fantasy or whatever, whenever there's clearly a morally good character that everybody could root for and is clear-cut the good person, they'll die first.
Yeah.
Because that is what makes this whole story in the gray. Because it's clearly black, in my opinion, watching this without reading anything, having any prior knowledge, going in, watching when Atreides arrives in Arrakis, to me it's black and white. There's a little bit of gray with the Fremen, but it's clearly the Harkonnen are evil, the Atreides are actually trying to be diplomatic and do the right thing.
And it's then subtly referred to by the black that the Harkonnens wear and the gray that the Atreides wear.
Thinking about the movie, it does telegraph the fact that he is the morally good character that is going to be the catalyst to start this war.
Yes.
Because this is a civil war amongst the Harkonnen, amongst the
Landsrad.
The houses of Landsgrad, and the Emperor. And so I should have seen that coming, but even then it still hit me because I didn't think they would cast somebody like Oscar Isaac to kill him off like halfway through the movie. So I think that was a good idea to cast him and put them in that role because I was like, there's no way they're going to kill Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
And then it also, and then I also remember this is Paul's story. Timothy Chalamet is the main character. Like, this is the guy.
I thought he did a great job.
But
I had never seen him in anything before, but I heard about a couple of movies that he's been drawing acclaim for. He's in that new French Dispatch, the Wes Anderson movie. I want to fucking see that, dude. That looks great. But,
did you hear the advice he got when he was doing interviews about Dune? He said the advice that he got was, don't do superhero movies and don't do hard drugs. And it seems to work out for him.
Yeah.
Even though you could argue that Dune is a superhero story because Frank Herbert himself said it was a superhero story.
Because it's talking about how the possibilities
of a man becoming a god
through selective breeding and also training your mind and your brain.
And the idea that he was fulfilling a prophecy and this whole the mystifying of character of people and turning them into a god.
Yeah.
The demigogery, if that is a word. I don't know if that's a word.
Yeah.
And it's such when you like I said, when you look up the book or you read the book and do what I did and find out more about what they're going to do, it is actually even more exciting because while this is a good movie, the second part, they're not even, like they said about halfway through the book. I don't know about that.
More like a third.
There's so much more shit that happens in that because I remember reading the plot synopsis of this, and I'm reading it as I'm reading. I'm like, this is still the first fucking book, like, and so I'm wondering.
It's thick.
Yeah, it's thick,
and the type is small,
very small.
So if it was like regular print, it'd be like 850 pages.
Well, it's 412 pages. If you read it on a tablet, you're only reading it a page at a time.
I own all the books.
I know you do. I know you do. I know. So I'm very interested in where it's going, and I think it did a great job for someone like me setting things up and executing them. Now I'm wondering how they're going to do, because Herbert himself intentionally made the story have loose ends so people would read it multiple times. I'm wondering if they're going to do that with saying, like, you have to watch part 1 and part 2 together multiple times to find more things. But I don't know. I feel like because of the nature of a movie, I feel like they tie a lot of loose ends already, but then they still leave it wide open at the end.
Yeah.
I disagree with the ending. I think they should have ended it a little bit sooner.
Yeah, you were saying that up here.
I would have cut it one sequence. I would have said, because there's a part. Well, let's talk about the Jameis scene, because this means a lot more to you than me. Great example of perspective flipping. So when I watched it, I'm like, because the movie, and I don't think the movie can really do it. There's already so many plot threads in this one movie. I don't think, and it's not to the movie's detriment. No. And you'll explain it here in a second what I'm talking about, but. When I saw him show up and when they had the sequence, the duel that ends the movie.
Right. Well, let's remember Jameis shows up, I think, a couple times before.
Yes, you see his face.
Visions,
yes, you don't ever see him. And he says, "I'm your friend. I will guide you through the desert." Is what he says.
That's when he's showing him how to do the sandworm riding. He picks up the hooks.
Yeah,
I don't know if you noticed that, but
yeah, because she had the hooks and she was going to ride a sand. Leah was trying to escape.
Yep.
She was calling a sandworm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So again, that is a movie showing me and not telling me. I don't know what the hooks mean.
Yeah.
I have no fucking idea.
Yeah. The thumper was great. I loved how they did that.
Then when she was getting swarmed and she thumps on the ground to bring the worm over to her and eat them, that was so fucking rad.
Yeah.
And the sandworm reveal Genius. They never gave it to me until the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because they kept showing its teeth and how big it is, like the mouth, but they never showed me the full thing. I'm sorry. I'm sidetracking you.
It's okay. What was I talking about?
We were talking about
Jameis shows up.
Jameis is the one.
He also shows up during the Coriolis storm where he says,
tells him to let go and
Yes.
flow through the storm.
And if you look at it that way, even if you've never read the books, you got to know that Jameis is a really important person to Paul. He is.
Even though he's never met him.
Right. But he's a guide. He's a brother. He's a... I don't even know how to describe it.
Because he does...
Just,
he chose how to get through the storm. And I mentioned it a few seconds ago. He's also the one that in a vision says, I'm your friend. I will guide you through the desert.
Yeah. And
we don't know who that is.
Well, in the book, there's alternate... While during the fight, that he has these alternate visions that show... but he knows... I won't get into it too much, but he knows that he has to kill Jameis to be accepted into the Fremen.
So wait a minute. Let me ask you this. Do you think when he's about ready to fight and he has the vision where it says, kill yourself to become...
Well, that's one of the visions he has, is he has a vision of himself getting killed by Jameis.
Yes.
Before he has the fight.
Yeah, but before in that sequence they say kill yourself to be set free. Kill your and then it's the voices of the Bene Gesserit.
Yeah.
And so in that sequence, I did pick up on that. I'm like, oh, Jameis is a part of him. So if he has to kill Jameis.
Yes.
And that's what Paul figures out in the vision.
Jameis has now Jameis's spirit has now become one with Paul. And that's why it's so, like, when you read the rest of the book, you understand how, if things had turned out differently, how much of a right hand, best friend, confidant, brother that Jameis would have been to him had he lived.
The
fact that he has to kill him to make things happen is just so fucking heartbreaking. Dude.
And the movie doesn't.
When Jameis was yelling at him, when he was screaming at him, because he was mad that he wouldn't. We talked about this off the air.
He kept putting his blade up to his throat, like he did when he was fighting with Gurney, and he says, "Do you yield?" And Javier Bardem is like, "That we don't do that in our culture. It's death. There's no yielding."
I love.
And then he goes, "Are you fucking around with it?"
Talked about it like, "Oh, he doesn't know our rules. This boy."
Yeah, he's so nonchalant.
Death is a test of it.
And then he just goes, "Is he playing with him?"
We talked about off the air too. I loved how they spoke to each other, the Fremen, because it really shows that they just do not fuck around. It's like, no, like
we'll deal with them. The sun's coming up. We're going to deal with them later.
We'll witness his death. Yeah. Like, Jameis, be still. Like,
it's a very primitive.
Yeah, come back to reason.
It's quick. It's simple because they're constantly surrounded by death.
Yes.
And they don't have time to squabble.
Another thing too, along the lines of that, when you speak, you release moisture into the air, so they don't speak very often. So when they do, it's very controlled and
very quick.
Yes,
to the point.
To the fucking exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a part of their culture. But when it's just, I was talking about outside, like, and I still kind of feel like just in my heart, just because
But see, that's the problem. The movie doesn't show that. You get that more from the book.
They will.
And I expect that in part two. So this hits it a different way for you.
I don't know. I can't remember the name of the actor, but wow, what a performance! I loved it from. Just everything he was doing. The way, like when he was speaking to Paul, like I was like, you know what? Whenever I go somewhere I don't know, I want that guy with me to help me out.
That's true.
Just like a really super great guy to have around. Like. And then when he was so brutal when they finally introduced him, I talked to you about this off the air too. Like I liked how Chani was kind of, in the beginning she was a little bit.
Well, and this was what I was talking about
most of the movie,
with
she's
her
this
introduction.
Pretty girl, right?
Yeah, she's this
girl in a vision,
beautiful woman that's.
But then she shows
leading
up.
him, and then she's blunt to the point, and she's a Fremen. She's,
yes,
and
it is so good.
When she gives him the sword.
She conveys that fucking sense of sorrow and
because in his vision he has the vision of the sword, and so she hands him the sword, so he knows this is where
I knew that the whole movie. Of course.
I know, yeah. And when she gives it to him, at least you're gonna die with honor. Like she's like they think you're the one, you're the chosen one.
You
I
look
don't.
like a boy to me.
Yeah, you look weak, and Yeah, and so like it was just funny to have him build her up to this figure that keeps going in his dreams and his visions, and then she's just like, "You're gonna die." That's so funny to me. Yeah,
Jameis is a good fighter. He'll make it quick.
but see,
And then he's talking to him like, this is better this way for you. This planet will kill you slowly. My blade is better.
yeah.
And it was just the matter-of-factness of it. Like, look, you're going to die either way. Do you
And
want to
then
do
the
it slow in the
nonchalantness
desert?
after Jameis is dead to be like, "You're one of us now."
Well, they just pick, because it's,
Death. They're always around death.
yes, death is another part of life to them.
Yeah.
And then what they did is they bound him up because they're going to take the water from his flesh and add it to their stores.
Wow.
And
Well, and you said in the book. Well, I do think they did a great job of showing Paul deal with the fact that this is the first time he ever killed someone. You say in the book it's a bigger deal because he cries.
yes,
And they huddle around him because they're like, "Oh, you're paying
you're giving water to
the dead." Yeah.
Which part of them are like, that's fucking stupid, but the other part is like, they're just mystified, but they're also mystified in a fanatical way. Almost. They're
Because like you said, like they're called and they kind of touch on it in the movie, and I'm sure they'll touch on it more in the second
little bit,
one.
yeah.
But they like you said, they don't speak. When they spit, it's a big deal. They don't like to use water. These are people that literally only drink their piss.
Here's the other thing too is I want
What
you
do
to
they do if they
remember this.
shit? Do they just recycle it into water and drink that too?
No, I believe that is there's waste pockets. So it
So like
just
an
kind
astronaut, like a
just kind of stays with you, and then
astronaut
you
costume
empty
where
it
you
at
get
some different points, I guess.
spacesuit where they can just poop in it. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, don't forget. You're all are sitting there like, wow, what an amazing, fun sci-fi story that would be to be in, dude. Everybody smells like ass.
Nobody showers.
No, forever.
You
They've
got to run
never
from these
showered
gigantic sandworms.
in their entire lives. They've never.
You
showered.
have to walk like a fucking idiot so you don't get eaten by a sandworm. I'm sorry. The the Fremen step made me laugh a lot. I'm like, that is so stupid. But
that was a little bit of a, but they have to do it. They have to show it.
it makes sense. No, narratively, it absolutely makes sense. It looks silly. No matter how you do that, it's gonna look silly. And I just thought that was just so funny. It's like, that's what I mean. You can't shower.
It's called walking without rhythm.
You have to walk like a fucking idiot. Then you got these ghoulish, pale-looking motherfuckers that are trying to take all your sweet drugs. And then you got these other fucking Atreides bureaucratic dickheads. And it's like, what do you... Just leave our planet alone. It's miserable enough.
Well, Paul at the end of the movie, and in the book, of course, he realizes that he cannot stop what the Emperor has done.
Yeah, there's a prophecy in the book that is in part 2.
What the Emperor wanted to do to him, as far as everybody knows, he has done. The
they think he's
Atreides are
dead.
Exterminated. Thufir is captured by the Harkonnens. Gurney is nowhere to be found. Duncan Idaho is dead.
Also, I know
Yui's dead.
That's another thing too.
As far as they know, Jessica and Paul are dead.
How did you feel about Duncan's death?
It's done.
You think it's better in the book?
No, it's pretty much this.
It's a self-sacrifice, right?
But yeah, it happens earlier on in the book. But I liked how they fleshed his character out to give him a little more time. I'm pretty sure it's been a long time since I read the book.
Yeah.
But those ecological planet testing stations that they're in, those were designed to terraform Arrakis. They were abandoned when the spice was found, obviously.
Yeah.
Because if they terraform Arrakis, the sand goes away.
They lose the spice.
Sandworms and the soundtrack go away. Now, in the just remember for the second movie, too, that now Paul owns everything Jameis owned. Everything that Jameis was responsible for, Paul is responsible for.
Yeah, because they traded a body for a body. So, well, no, and the way that the book ends, they absolutely have to put in him riding a sandworm because he rides a sandworm in the book. Spoilers for people that want to read the book, but
yeah,
the book's been out fucking since the 60s.
Yeah,
all right?
asshole.
You can look, read the book. It's well written, or you could do what I did and read the plot synopsis because I already based on what I've read, the movie follows the book incredibly well. Like
Pretty
it's
much.
very much like a almost page to
Spot,
yeah, it's
beat
not
for beat.
like you said. They're gonna they added a little bit more to Duncan. They took some things like they're gonna make changes. It's an adaptation, and I've said on this show, I never want to go into a movie after reading a book. I never want to go into a movie and seeing the same thing because it's like, well, I already read this, so I'm open for changes in things being adapted.
Well, like,
And we all know, no matter what you do, the book is always going to be better than the movie because you only have a certain amount of time with a movie. In a book, you can tell the story you want.
yeah. Now, Duncan Idaho does die saving Paul and Jessica from the starter car, but it's earlier on in the book. Now, here's the fun thing: is well, it's not fun, but if you noticed, like when he first gets attacked in the palace, and the hunter seeker starts going through his shield. That's a callback to the Lynch movie because Duncan Idaho was played by this doughy white dude and never is shown fighting at all. And then the shields that they have are these clunky CGI things that are always on. Like the way they did it in this movie was perfect. You show it going on, and then if they get hit, you know they have a shield, and if they get killed, you know they don't, right? Yeah. Instead of this clunky thing on all the time. And so in the Lynch movie, and I think in the book as well, a hunter seeker goes into his shield, and it's a designed hunter seeker like the bombs that were destroying the ships outside. They were slow moving, and then they would penetrate the shield and then blow up. Yeah, it's like that. But I think in the book it happens too. But in the Lynch movie, he's just standing there. He's trying to fight some dudes. He turns around because Paul yells Duncan. He turns around, and this hunter seeker just bores into his shield, and he's just standing there, and then it kills him just right into his skull. And it's like, and I feel like Villeneuve and the rest of the cast and writers and everything were like, fuck that shit. So they showed a sequence where a hunter seeker was going into his shield, and he was like, fuck you, and like literally waited till it came in and then flatted it away. Yeah. Because I thought that was kind of like Duncan Idaho. He does get short shrift, but you got to understand Duncan Idaho is a huge character throughout the entire series.
Yeah, and there's things you're telling me in the series that he's a bigger impact later in the story if they even do. But I think truthfully, I think you do a second part to this, but I really feel like with as dense as this is going to be, you would have to do miniseries of Children of Dune.
Well, they're supposed to be doing a Bene Gesserit series.
Well, the Sisterhood.
Max.
Yeah, Dune the Sisterhood.
And by the way, I just read the other day, we've been talking about this, the Green Lantern.
If Warner Brothers is smart,
series is moving forward. It's just
if Warner Brothers is smart, yes. Dune could be like HBO Max,
you could milk that fucking profits off that shit for decades,
You can go Disney Plus and watch Star Wars shit, and then you can go to HBO Max and watch Dune shit.
Boom.
Simple. You've got DC and Dune. Use it. Yeah. So I think it'd be smart for them to do shit. They could even do the fucking books that his son wrote, and do the House Atreides and the House of
No, don't do those. Do the original 3 prequels, the ones that describe the Butlerian Jihad and the beginnings.
The ones that Frank wrote.
No, his son wrote them, but off of notes from his dad.
Oh.
But again, they talk about Serena Butler, who she was, who her son was. They reveal why the Harkonnens and the Atreides hate each other. Because in the books, in that prequel, when they first meet each other, Harkonnens are heroes of the Imperium.
Also, while we're still talking about
and Atreides are dudes who were under the thumb of the thinking machines.
Let me ask you this. Yeah. Art direction wise and cinematography wise, is this what you envisioned a Dune movie should look like?
Yes. Scope had to be huge. You have to convey the depth of the desert, and they did that really, really well, I thought.
Yeah. Because it feels epic.
You have to convey the immensity of the Hayliners, which is what those ships are that the Spacing Guild uses.
The size of the sandworm.
Yeah. You have to give scope like that, and they did a great job of it. I think it wasn't too big, for the characters themselves.
But it's like I said earlier, when you see the sandworm, it's a big payoff because you're like, Jesus, because you've only seen their giant mouths, you haven't seen what they look like when they raise up.
Yeah,
and you're like, wow.
Yeah,
and that really adds spectacle to it.
Yeah,
and that adds like such a cool aspect because I know in the movie it's gonna look fucking rad when they ride the sandworms. Like that is something that excites me.
One criticism I read was kind of apropos, and the guy was describing the sandworms, and he's like, and then they eat, and then in parentheses, with their mouths, their butthole. I'm not sure. And I was like,
it does look like a giant hairy butthole.
Yeah, with teeth.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
No thanks, sister.
Yeah, but I do think if they're gonna keep with the idea of, because there's so much lore to do it, it has to be more miniseries. Because I don't know, I just don't think, because that is 12 movies. If you do 2 parts to every book, that's 12 fucking movies.
And that's not even including the final 2 books, which complete the series.
Yeah. Well, no, I was saying with all 6. Well, that he wrote before he died.
Right.
And so wrote. That's 12 fucking movies.
But that ends on a cliffhanger. So.
And then you have to like cobble together the final movie. And yeah, so I think it's better if going forward they do more series.
How to read the books. Here's how to read the books. You read the first 6 that Frank wrote. Then you stop there. Remember where you're at because it's a cliffhanger. Then you want to
go backwards
and go all the way back to that prequel trilogy, which describes the Balerian Jihad and the Battle of Carino, which is where they talk about in the books. The Battle of Carino is where the Harkonnens, and the Atreides split. Before that, they were allies. It's never revealed why, but in that prequel trilogy, it is revealed why and how, and it's fucking crazy.
Also, I'm excited when they talk about the sandworm god. Mm-hmm. What was his name?
Shai-Hulud.
Shai-Hulud.
Yeah.
She's and that's another thing that they reference, but they never talk about, which is again smart. I like it when movies do that, and I don't have the fucking exposition with everything where she just says, "I serve." I serve the worm, the sandworm.
In the Lynch
god.
movie, they tried to use, tapes, visual tapes and whatnot to kind of use a little bit as exposition, but it was so clunkily done. In this movie, they do it in a really great way, I think. It's really quick, and you kind of come in to a scene where somebody's about to finish up one, instead of like, there's a couple times in the Lynch movie where it's literally like the exposition is on the screen and you're watching it. It's like, this is fucking stupid.
But that's something you're like, oh, I need to remember that.
One of the things that the Lynch movie did really well, and I will always continue to say this, is the production design. These sandworms were really cool looking. The sets were incredible. The still suits that they wear in these movies are almost identical to the ones that they created for the Lynch movie, really. The big difference is that in the books, it's referred to that they wear hoods a lot. They wear robes as well.
Yeah.
Over the still suits. In the Lynch movie, they never wear robes.
Yeah, there's only a few. They don't wear them until Leah gives them another suit when they escape. Mm-hmm. And then they look like sand ninjas.
Yeah. Dude, and did you see how that's another thing they conveyed really well, I think, especially when the Sardaukar catch up to him at the planet testing station, where all the Fremen are sitting around and one of them hears something and like seconds later they're all gone.
Yeah.
Just gone. Like they are so good at just disappearing into the sand.
I love that they
awesome.
they developed a device that is a thumper. That's how they ride the worms.
Well, that's also like again another way that they can attract worms away from something too. Yeah.
And that's how they saved Paul.
In the Lynch movie, it was
because it was Jameis's thumper. It
was this big giant thing, and the thumper was like computer generated. Mm-hmm. It was a special effect. I really liked that they used a lot.
There's a lot of practical effects.
I think they tried to do as much practical in this movie.
Well, we talked about
really
the ornithopters.
Ornithopters. Yeah.
That look like dragonflies.
Yeah, which is what they were supposed to look like.
Because they got 4 wings and they flap and they literally look like just giant mechanical fucking dragonflies.
In the Lynch movie, they look cool. They look like golden outhouses with big wings. It was stupid.
But I love that. It was so cool. Like, and it's something that is a cool idea that is so unique to Dune. It gives you an idea of like, I've never seen a ship like this before. That's an interesting, and it makes sense that even though they don't have a lot of technology, the things that they fly is still based on nature. It looks like a dragonfly.
Yeah. I mean, it's rudimentary shit. Like it's basically like
Yeah.
like the brains that a 1957 Dodge Challenger has. That's the level of technology that they have in terms of computers, in terms of like human ability, and in terms of, you know, just ingenious inventions and everything. It's far beyond our capabilities.
I also like
far more technologically advanced than we are, even though we have fucking computers in our pockets.
I like the sequence when Leto and Gurney and Paul are out with the extraction when they're doing that extraction thing because the cable breaks.
Yeah.
Again, it adds to Leto's character of saying, you know, damn the spice.
Even though he's killing himself by saying that.
Because I think then he knew.
Oh yeah, I think they convey they convey that he kind of knows, but yeah.
Where he was like, you know what, fuck the spice. I just need, because he was like, I need to say, it's like, there's 21 people. That's 21 workers I lost.
Yeah.
For the spice, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I saved him. But I just thought of that because that was a great scene with the bird, and then when this like the sandstorm was so fucking cool and well done, and like the idea of excuse me, frog in my throat.
I just burped.
There is that aspect. What I was thinking of when I was watching that sequence when he's like, "Go with the storm," you know, let's stop trying to go into it, go with it.
Right.
Made me think of driving on ice in the winter. You know, don't hit your brakes and skid. Ride with the ice. You know, like little things like that, where it's like it's such a simple, relatable thing, but it makes sense of the grand scheme of things. Of to, instead of fighting the storm, go with the storm, and I think that's a good way of also conveying the themes of, you know, Paul accepting the fact that like, I am meant to be here. I am meant to be on Arrakis. I need to go with the desert and follow the ebbs and flow. Like, and it's such a cool way to convey that.
That's a Fremen way of thinking.
Yeah.
So you can tell
he's becoming
already,
Fremen. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm quite the Luddite. And Luddites are people that were against the Industrial Revolution back in like 1800s. And in France, they created a guy named Ned Ludd. With 2 Ds.
So that's where Luddite comes from, huh?
Yes, and what he was, because the workers would sabotage the machines at night, and when they were questioned the next day to make sure none of them would get caught for it, they created this character named Ned Ludd, Ludd, and they would always say that was who it was. So Luddites they aren't afraid of technology. What they are is they are afraid of technology changing the world in such a way that it cannot be changed back and that is irreversible. So you can understand also why I love these books so much, because it talks about human abilities. When I look around the world right now, man, we are fucked. I am fucked.
You know what's funny that you talk about that?
When I broke my phone that one night and I couldn't get one until the morning and how depressed I was.
Funny story about that.
Yeah.
I literally watched this movie on my phone.
Right?
Because I'm having internet struggles right now, and I feel like I'm in the fucking Stone Age.
I know.
And,
I hate that it makes us feel so useless when we don't have it.
But that's the thing. But here's another funny example. Ashley was telling me one of her coworkers saw it, didn't like it, didn't really connect with them.
Right.
But they're saying that like everybody was on their phones at 2 and then I was like, and I go,
well, fuck you guys for being in the theater.
Well, that's what I was like. That is what this movie is trying to say. What does that say about our society where we can't sit through a 2.5 hour movie and not look at our phone? I've been guilty of it. There's been times when I look at like my notifications. I don't like actually open up my fucking phone, but I see it on my screen. I still check the screen.
Like I said, I mean, I went to sleep like an hour later.
You know how many times I paused this movie?
I woke up and an hour later I had a phone again. But for those 2 hours, I was destitute. I had nothing. I had no connection to the outside world. Those are our phones. Those are our computers.
That's what I was saying last
photos.
night. Last night, I was like, you know how many times
something bad is going to happen with all this reliance on technology. I'm telling you. Did we not remember the Terminator movies?
No, dude. I was watching this movie while doing things. Like I took my dog out and was still watching the movie and pausing it. So like as this movie is actively talking about how bad technology is, I'm watching it on my fucking. And then also, if anybody out there hears this podcast and wants to give me shit because I watch this on my phone, fuck you. Yeah, this is why we have this technology.
Yes.
And guess what? I did the same thing for Suicide Squad. If you give me the opportunity to watch a movie in my home, I will take it. But you know what?
Right.
I still went out and saw Venom. I still went out and if you only release, and this is on Warner Brothers, not on me. They should not have released this as a hybrid.
Both of us have seen 2 movies in the theater this year, and they were the same ones: Shang-Chi and what was the one?
Venom.
Venom. We saw Venom together. No, how did I know that? But when you think about it, technology can be really cool. Okay, example.
Nice.
Example. My Hyundai Elantra had a headlight out, and dude, cops in this I'm one of those people who, if you have a headlight out, you're getting pulled over every time you're out at night until you get it fixed. So get it fixed right away, right? So I'm like, I gotta fix this. I don't know how to do it. I know how to get a bulb. I've replaced it on a car before.
Pull
right?
it up on your phone.
I had to pull it up on YouTube because I had to remove the entire front light construction. I had to remove the entire thing and then
the whole cover and everything.
Yeah, because the fucking way they built it or whatever.
Yeah.
That was cool. That is cool that if I want to learn how to do something, I can go on the internet and find YouTube, probably find a video on YouTube to get me started.
Well, and again.
But that's just YouTube.
Look, I wanted to do this podcast today.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see the movie. I work nights. I don't have a time to watch it. So I took and again, I don't really have internet right now. There's a whole ordeal I'm dealing with. So I'm like, you know what? I'm a little pissed because I thought I could download it on my laptop, on my Mac, but no, I had to download it on my phone and watch it on my phone screen. It's not IMAX, but I was able to look. Also,
I already said that I've seen it.
You know what? You know what else? You know what else you can't do in a motherfucking movie theater is lay in a bed with a blanket in my underwear, have my headphones in, and watch the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't.
You also can't pause it to go take a piss.
Yes. Or when your dog wakes you up at 3 a.m. puking.
Yeah.
So guess what? You can go back and watch it.
Yeah. So
can't do that at a movie theater. You fucks. No.
Fucks.
But. And I just didn't want to wait another weekend because I knew you had already seen it twice and you really wanted to talk about it, so I was like, I'll just watch it now, kind of thing. But
I appreciate it, and so does the audience.
No,
audience.
Like I said, I was.
Yeah.
Woo!
Wow, there's a person. Where did that guy come from? He's just hanging out in their basement, just shouting, "Yeah." Sir,
that is a home intruder. We're invading the man cave studio.
We better call the cops.
No, we're not calling anybody.
Are you a Fremen?
They just want our spice.
Yeah. That's a fucking really excited guy.
See, that's how I know he's not a Fremen. All that spit that just came out of his mouth.
Yeah, see, he's just like awful.
Yeah.
Get out of here, man.
Arrakis. Bringing peace to Arrakis. So, yeah, like I said, I was thoroughly impressed with its ability to take something that I knew was daunting and so deep to be able to present it to me in 2.5 hours that was digestible and very understandable. And do I have more from the movie talking to you about it? Sure. And, these conversations, I pick up things, but that's the brilliance of this movie and that's the brilliance of this book. It's designed to be discussed about.
Yes.
And so that is why we spent an hour and a half talking about this fucking movie, because there's
why people have spent decades trying to get this made into a movie.
And that's why this was such a big deal.
Do yourself a favor, now that you've seen the movie and you know about the book and stuff, please go watch Jodorowsky's Dune. It is a documentary about the first attempt at bringing Dune to the silver screen.
Oh yeah, because they've been trying to make this since the 70s.
But here's the cool thing is how much of the production, because they went all the way almost to filming on this thing.
They went pre-production?
Oh yeah. So they'll show how much of it made it into other movies, but they'll also talk about how fucking far from the book this Italian whack job wanted to go. It's it's insane.
Yeah.
Let's just first thing. Leto's a what is it when you chop your balls off?
Oh, castrated.
Eunuch. He's a eunuch.
Eunuch, yeah.
Why?
Why?
Exactly. But dude, you got to watch it just to see how fucking insane it is. It's not only insane and so far from the book, but how much of that made it into movies that you know and love. you should go if you get a chance to see it. I think it's free on streaming somewhere. Audience too. If you get a chance to see it, I finally got to watch it because I was intensely interested. Salvador Dali was going to be the artistic director. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This was
Weird.
back in the 70s, dude.
Yeah.
The guy Dan O'Bannon, the guy who created Alien, was an art director on this project.
Oh.
Tons of his shit shows up in other. H.R. Giger fucking Giger was in charge of designing Gayday Prime, the Harkonnen homeworld.
Oh, nice.
It's fucking insane, dude. Go check it out.
Oh, that's excuse me. And I'm wondering if that's going to touch in more. Are we going to be on other planets very much in the next movie, you think? Are they good? Well, no, because the way that this ends,
They might go to Corno, which is the seat of Imperial power.
But the way that the way this is going to go, it's going to be mostly on Arrakis because the Emperor. Spoilers in the book, the Emperor shows up. So
yeah,
I'm wondering who they're going to make the Emperor. If you could cast the Emperor, who would it be?
Oh, Jesus. Here's the thing is, I don't think I would have cast any of these actors in these roles. I don't think I'm very good with, like, casting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I honestly...
Although
it's got to be somebody with gravitas.
I don't know,
dude.
but Ruben, you knew Ruben was going to be a Ruben.
Who's going to play Fade Routha?
Yeah, because she played... that character's huge in the
Sting.
second part of the story.
And Sting played him in the Lynch movie. Yeah.
It's amazing.
The funny thing is, the Harkonnens are all gingers in the Lynch movie, so that's also why I hate it. I'm not evil.
Instead, they're just bald. Like, why didn't they just be these pale, bald-looking things?
No, they made the Bene Gesserit bald in the Lynch movie. Yeah, no clue.
But they didn't make the...
The Lynch
Why are
movie
they
fucked
racking
up
in
a
the
lot.
one of the... That's probably why people think the gingers have no souls. This is the fucking Lynch
Thanks a lot,
movie.
Lynch.
You bastard.
Fuck. You know what? Mulholland
Why
Drive.
don't you go make Fight Club or something?
You know what? Mulholland Drive was stupid.
Actually, no, it's Finkner, wasn't it?
that was Fincher.
Fincher.
Whose first movie was? Whose first movie was Bring It Back Around, Alien 3.
I'm sorry, man. I've been tripping on some spice.
Tripping now, some spice.
I wonder if they're gonna bring the melange stuff in next. Melange.
Melange.
They're gonna bring that in the second. They have to bring it in the second part of the movie because that's a plot point he finally learns how to do interdimensional travel,
Oh yeah.
and that's how you do it.
Mm.
And it's a version of the spice.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
not get into that too much. If you want to read the book, we'll let you read the book.
Well, you know
or
what?
at least the synopsis in the.
Who knows how they're gonna fucking do it? But if this first movie is any indication,
Okay, so one last. Okay, you ready?
sure.
This is potential.
Don't spoil anything for me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, then okay.
Well, you read the plot
Well,
synopsis.
fuck them. Okay. Well, I thought we were gonna do a spoiler for like
No.
one of the other books.
No, I'm just going to talk about what happens in the second part or whatever.
Yeah.
So, spoiler alert: 3, 2, 1. For the second half, this is potential. Jessica is a Sayadina, who they call that's what they call the Bene Gesserit. So she.
I know where this is going. I don't know if we should do it
Okay.
because I feel like
Let's wait. Because if
that's
you
such
want
a
to
cool.
read the book,
That'd be such. It's such a. It's.
I'd rather you read the book.
Her
folks.
storyline the rest of the way is really interesting, and I don't want to spoil that for
Yeah,
someone.
yeah. There's a lot of fucking craziness.
Yeah.
Don't forget, folks. She is pregnant.
That is true.
Don't forget about that.
And he didn't know. I don't think that
Leto
Leto
never
know.
knew. I don't think he
Leto-
ever knows in the book either.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Also, the fact that she tries to explain the situation, and he's already like, "Nope, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know." Because I think at that point he knew that she had been training him as well.
Mm-hmm.
What you got to think about Paul's life? He's getting trained by 3 different people. Duncan and Gurney are training him to fight. His dad's training him to be a politician, and his mom is training him to be
a Bene Gesserit sister.
to be like this super powered person.
They're insane in the books. They can kill
Which
somebody.
is
with
what
a
you're
thought.
saying. We need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
This is a great point of what you're saying about what Herbert was doing with themes. Is you're right. Paul ascended to become a god because he was trained by 3 people to become a god.
That was his training, and the
It was
catalysts.
always been
The catalysts are the just immersion in spice where he is now, and the trauma that he's just suffered.
Yeah,
At the
losing
hands
his
of the
losing his
Harkonnens
whole
and the
family
Emperor.
because the Emperor tried to wipe out his family.
And that's the catalyst. Those are the two catalysts that unlock all of that training finally to produce the
well, yeah, he
perfect,
kills Jameis.
perfect being. Yes.
He kills a man for the first time.
I love you. I love you, Jamie.
I really can't wait to see that fucking sick ass armor he's in. Hopefully they have better CGI because that looked terrible. That was one of the.
It was way better in the actual movie than it was in that preview.
Either way, it was still bad.
Sure.
That was one of the few times I was like, oof.
But I remember looking for that because I remember when we watched the preview together, you were like, "Oh, that was really bad," and I was like, "Yeah, it kind of is." But the movie, they actually at least improved on it, at least.
It's not. It's not. I've seen a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they're going to wrap this up because there's so much more of this story. But I'm also excited because the second half is going to be real heavy-handed in themes of religion and deities and all of these like heavy themes that we've been talking about. It really kick in the second part.
Yeah. Heavy stuff.
Yeah, there's prophecies
The hand of God
and
is
jihads. And
yes.
it's crazy. It's gonna be awesome. Oh yeah, the hand of God stuff comes into play. Like there's so much, and I still like as someone who I don't know if I'll ever read the books, but as someone who just saw anything Dune related for the first time, and then starting to learn more about it, it is insane. I mean, I can't state this enough. How fucking unbelievably insane it is that one man created this.
Right?
Because
Dude,
someone that was writing building a universe and like building lore themselves and writing all this stuff, it's like I don't know how this fucking because I'm doing it, but I'm even catching my own consistency issues, and I'm like, how did this guy do this?
He wrote like 50 other books too.
How?
I don't know, but they're really fucking good too.
How
I've read
can
those.
one man do that? It's just
I've read a couple of his other books that are not Dune related, and it's just like it is.
I know how he did it. He was on Spice.
He and Philip K. Dick share a lot in terms of style.
Well, shit, they're two guys that created all of modern sci-fi. I mean, there's so much that sci-fi and other movies owe to Dune. It is utterly you almost can't comprehend how much when you would like for me, someone who's watching in this movie, not seeing the David Lynch, not seeing the miniseries, not reading the books, and being like, wow, there's so much that other media has taken from Dune.
If you do get a chance, I know the Wi-Fi situation, whatever, but if you do get a chance to see the Lynch movie eventually, I do recommend it. It's a different way to look at it, and it's fairly entertaining.
I've heard it's okay. It's not
the
great,
worst,
but
it's so poorly. Anyway,
yeah. This is I think our longest episode ever.
But before we go, I'm gonna end the episode by using a quote that ends the Lynch movie, which is to me one of the few bright spots of the movie, despite the fact that after Paul says this, it starts raining on Arrakis. Not how the book ends, David. Mr. Lynch. Okay. But he's finally done everything he needs to do. He's standing there and he says he's won, and he's like, "We Fremen have a saying. God created Arrakis to train the faithful. One cannot go against the word of God."